Now we are.
Now we're webcasting, okay.
Sylvia Fuller, I'm the director of the Municipal Archives.
Kenneth Cobb, the Assistant Commissioner at the Department of Records.
Yasmin Ramirez, new board member.
Kieran Vogel, Associate Counsel with the Office of the County to the Mayor.
Great. So Yasmin came in late last week so we could do a quick tour of the archives and bring her up to speed on the work of the Archival Review Board and answer questions. And I know, and gave her past minutes from this most recent board. So I think she's up to speed and we welcome her. It'd be great to have your voice in the mix. So did everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes, and were there any questions or?
Any questions?
Okay, so can I have a motion for the minutes to be approved? Oh, Chris, we didn't introduce you.
Hi, Chris Moore, former curator of the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture and retired Commissioner of the Landmarks Preservation Commission.
Yay.
Hey,
And a founding member of the
a
ARB.
founding member of the Archival Review Board.
Yes, sir. All right, do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Someone must move.
I move to adopt the minutes from the June 15th, 2016 Archival Review Board meeting.
Great, a second? I
Second.
don't think you can vote.
Oh, really?
Second, I think, thank you. And then, board members, are we approving the minutes?
Aye.
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, I think the way the board works is the board members may vote and the non-board members may not vote. Generally speaking. All right, Sylvia Kolar has a report on the collection process in 2015. We've discussed this before, but she is circulating an updated version of our report. And this time it's a poster. Chris, I'm just going to duck out and email you that very quickly, so you can look at it at your computer. All right, you should get it in a second. We decided, when we discussed at our last meeting, trying to show a continuum of how collections were processed from those that staff touched at the collection level and organized, but from that point on to the item level where everything is indexed by the folder, and there's a detailed finding aid, and they're more useful to researchers because the fullest amount of processing has occurred. So I know Sylvia circulated the list of collections that had been processed the last go around, and this is our proposed report from last year, which we'll put up on the web and also put in the government publications portal.
I guess the only question I have is whether something like this, using language archives use collection level, series, and series level descriptions is useful, or if there's another way that the archive should consider presenting the information.
And this is for, in terms of public accessibility and for just in terms of organization, categorization.
This actually indicates the level of work involved in gaining intellectual access to the collections. So at the item level, yes, we have finding aids that are covered on each level. It's just how specific is the finding. But you know, the collections we've completed is also significant because it speaks to some of our priorities and some collections that may not necessarily be priorities, except in a preservation need or a move need within the space.
And is this the method that's been used in the past?
Yeah, so this is traditional archival processing procedures. But I guess my question is, do these, these levels of description, are they helpful to you to understand the work we're doing?
And the charter requires the board to produce a report showing the collections process during the year. And I think this is an attempt for us, as discussed, to show what that means at different levels.
Mm-hmm.
So another level that's not on here is where where we aspire to get is processed and digitized and online. Mm-hmm. But to this collection that so if you look at the Economic Development Administration, which was a predecessor of the EDC, they had a group of photography files that were processed at the collection level. So probably put in clean folders that were archival quality and boxed and categorized that way, but not nearly as much handling required as the HPV photograph digitization project, which has in the item level where each one is named and you can find them and they will be digitized and online. So the goal is to show people that there's some things that we can tell you what happened to them, where they are at the collection level, but it goes through this continuum of processing.
What would be helpful to me, let's say just as a regular person, is if up here there was a description, an overall description, right, of the archive, and how many, like what's the entire collection, right? So if you say municipal archives currently holds blah, 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 so that we understand, the context within which this is being processed. So we have this and this and this. Then, for me to understand, it's almost like at the collection level, what I'm assuming is things come into the collection all the time, or once a year, or all the time, right, on process. So maybe a line about how many throughout the year. We've got this. Then this year, these many collections came into the archives. Because we're assuming, like, all of this came into the archives this year. No. It would be helpful in some ways for people to understand when this collection came in, so that when you, for ordinary people, they're not understanding the process and how this is sort of.
Just want to check on something.
So it would be helpful, I mean, if you really want to do a report and get it, it's like the collection came in at this time. And are you saying that in the archives, what happens is a collection comes in and then it goes at collection level, and then you continually process this collection throughout the years? No.
Well, our now minimum standard is collection level description. So anything comes in needs to be verified at the collection level and described at a collection level, and made accessible online. So that's going forward. The priority of that collection to get processed may not be for another 5 years, say.
Right.
But our mission is to make sure people know that it exists, so they can still.
Right. So then it's like, how many collections came in for the year? And then you could put down when you can expect for them to be accessible to the public. So then the sub-series level, this has already been processed at the collection level, right? I mean, it keeps going down the
Yes.
line.
Yes.
So do you want to have an item level for each collection, or some collections are just gonna stay that way?
Yes.
So that would be actually good for people to know. Final. So that way we don't get a sense, we get a sense of one that, okay, well, you made your goal.
Right.
Or this is finalized, because it says completed, but then we see here that there's other things that are like at different levels. So I'm thinking, is the goal to make everything like this? No. If it's not, then maybe say what the goal is and how you achieved it, so it's a little more transparent.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, and certainly this, as Chris fully well knows, for 2 decades, the archives was struggling with, deep cuts, and it was only recently that the archives has been able to add archival staff to continue the best practice that the archives had begun with. But with the gap of bringing things in and dwindling staff, we acquired more things and we were able to process at the collection level. So that's happening, but we're also able to do so much more than we've been able to do in quite some time. But I think your point is a good one, and one of the values of having everything processed at the collection level is we do make those collections available to the public as unprocessed collections, so that people can come in and under the direct supervision of an archivist, look for what they want. And that is, I'm not sure what the percentage is, but I would say the majority of our collection is at this level. I'm looking at Ken and Sylvia to see if that is true. So we have, let's say, 250,000 cubic feet of material.
I would say the series and sub-series level is more like it, is where the majority of our collections are processed.
Some of the series are, some of the most massive series, for example, the closed case files of the district attorney, thousands of cubic feet. They may be actually technically only at the collection level, but given the nature of that collection and the way you access it by case file number, that's as far as you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
So huge quantities are that way. Whereas other collections, like photo collections, to make them more fully useful, you usually want to do it at the item level.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, Yasmin, this is a very good point you made, and then I think that your comments are worth adding to this. So if one would expect that if we had all the resources in the world, we would move as much toward the item level as possible. That may not be the case, because some collections, as you point out, don't need to ever be at that level. So that would be a helpful, just to somehow add into this.
Yeah, whether this is final or still to be processed. You know what I mean? Like right here, there's some things that you're not going to process anymore, so we should just see them as like final, or
So another column or field saying desired level of processing.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah, just to get a sense, because this way you kind of look at it, but you don't know, you just don't know like really what's going on.
And so I think also, instead of a one-sheet poster, maybe we'll do some sort of fold so that you can use both sides of the document. You can provide this information in a graphically interesting way, because that's the other thing. We also know that people don't flip through the long reports, so we want something that's pithy, attractive, but to cover these points. So
And then
that's
each point is saying accessible to the public this way, so that people get a sense that they can come and use it, because that's probably what people want to know more. Like, can I come in and use it, or am I gonna wait, or never will?
very good. Excellent. Any other comments? So we will revise this, update it, circulate it, and try and make every attempt to issue it before 2016 comes to a close, because we'll be on to the next report shortly. Records of citywide officials?
In terms of the commissioner records that we've been working on, we've received, our collections are either en route or in the process of being, accessioned from the Department of Correction, Cultural Affairs, DCAS, Design and Construction, Department of Finance, Department of Information Technology, Telecommunications, excuse me, Doris, Youth and Community Development, the NYPD, Cultural Affairs, Homeless Services, and Parks and Recreation. They total over 700 cubic feet. Some have been transferred physically and some are not physically, but we've filled out the disposal applications for those collections.
And from some agencies, the archives that haven't received any commissioner level collections. So this is a real undertaking to bring in these records of the past, which are going to be hugely interesting, and hopefully we'll be able to process them further along the continuum. And also, then the next matter, Bloomberg administration email records. We've made great progress. I think we're up to the group of officials, senior officials whose email was held on the City Hall server. The law department has reviewed for attorney-client privilege the first 3 years of the Bloomberg administration, and the records of that group of senior officials are available at the archives. People can come in and conduct searches, and we are going to be able to speed up the way we make materials available, these emails available to people, because the law department has given the search tool to the archivists. We also are going to, the plan is to be able to put the subject files of the administration, to put them on a server and make those available to on-site researchers sooner rather than later as well. And separately, the Bloomberg collection, Karen, you might know more than I do on this, but the Bloomberg collection of emails that were stored at bloomberg.net, which were almost all of the former mayor's emails and many, many of the emails of his top advisors. The former mayor's emails are being reviewed by outside counsel to separate the public, so the city emails from his own personal and business emails at Bloomberg, and then the entire trove of Bloomberg city emails will be transferred to the archives, and we'll then begin this process looking through them for anything covered by attorney-client privilege, and everything else will be made available. And I think the Bloomberg materials are scheduled to be delivered to the archives at the end of this month, early next month. And then the process will continue with the next level of aides, the first deputy mayor, the deputy mayor, the council, etc. Is that?
Yeah, that's right. The law department's been working, like you said, with the former mayor's representatives, and I believe as of the last update, we're all still on track to receive the former mayor's emails very soon.
Yes. So while we all recognize this is not an ideal practice, we've learned a lot about how emails are maintained by various people in the last several years, several months, and our goal is to end up as the Commissioner of Records end up with a better process going forward than was followed by the last administration. So, questions? Any questions? All right, any other new business people want to raise? All right, well, then may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Yasmin moved, do I have a second?
Aye.
Karen seconded, all in favor, yay! Okay, so the meeting is adjourned, thank you all for participating.
Thank you, Pauline.
Bye, Chris.
Right.